one thing was certain, that the white kitten had nothing to do with it. It was the black kitten's fault entirely, for the white kitten had been having its face washed by the old cat Dinah for the last quarter of an hour, so you see, it couldn't have had any hand in the mischief. But the black kitten had been finished with earlier in the afternoon, and so, while Alice was sitting curled up in a corner of the great armchair, half talking to herself and half asleep, the kitten had been having a grand game of romps with the ball of worsted Alice had been trying to wind up. "Oh, you wicked, wicked little thing," cried Alice, and catching up the kitten, she scrambled back into the armchair, taking the kitten and wool with her. "Do you know, I was so angry, Kitty," said Alice, "when I saw all the mischief you'd been doing. What have you got to say for yourself, you mischievous little darling? Now, don't interrupt me. Kitty, can you play chess? Don't smile, my dear, I'm asking it seriously. Because when we were playing just now and I said check, you purred. Let's pretend we're kings and queens. You be the red queen, Kitty. If you sat up and folded your arms, you'd look exactly like her." And Alice got the red queen off the table and set it up before the kitten to imitate. However, it wouldn't fold its arms properly, so to punish it, she held it up to the looking-glass. "And if you're not good directly, I'll put you through into Looking-Glass House. How would you like that? Now, if you'd only attend, Kitty, I'll tell you all my ideas about Looking-Glass House. First, there's the room you can see through the glass. That's the same as our drawing room, only the things go the other way. Then the books are something like our books, only the words go the wrong way. I know that because I've held up one of our books to the glass, and then they hold up one in the other room. Oh, Kitty, how nice it would be if we could only get through into Looking-Glass House. I'm sure it's got such beautiful things in it. Let's pretend the glass has got soft like gauze. Why, it's turning into a sort of mist now, I declare." She was up on the chimney-piece while she said this, though she hardly knew how she got there, and certainly the glass was beginning to melt away. In another moment, Alice was through to the other side. Everything that could be seen from the old room was quite common and uninteresting, but all the rest was as different as possible. For instance, the clock on the chimney-piece, you know you can only see the back of it in the looking-glass, had got the face of a little old man and grinned at her. "They don't keep this room so tidy as the other," thought Alice, as she noticed several of the chessmen down in the hearth among the cinders. But in another moment, with a little oh of surprise, she was down on her hands and knees watching them. "Here are the Red King and Queen," said Alice in a whisper, for fear of frightening them. "And there is the White Bishop sitting on a piece of coal. And here are the two castles walking arm in arm. I don't think they can hear me." She put her head closer, "and I'm nearly sure they can't see me." Here something began squeaking on the table, and Alice turned her head just in time to see one of the white pawns roll over and begin kicking. "It is the voice of my child," the White Queen cried out, as she rushed past the king so violently she knocked him over among the cinders. "My precious Lily, my imperial kitten," and she began scrambling wildly up the side of the fender. Alice, anxious to be of use, hastily picked up the White Queen and set her upon the table by the side of her noisy little daughter. The Queen gasped and sat down. "Mind the volcano," she called out to the White King. "What volcano?" said the king anxiously. "It blew me up," panted the Queen. "Mind you come up the regular way." Alice watched the White King as he slowly struggled from bar to bar. "Why, you'll be hours and hours getting to the table at that rate. I'd far better help you." So Alice picked him up very gently. She said afterwards that she'd never seen in all her life such a face as the king made when he found himself held in the air by an invisible hand. His eyes and his mouth went on getting larger and larger, rounder and rounder, till Alice's hand shook so with laughing she nearly let him drop upon the floor. She set him down very carefully near the Queen. "The horror of that moment, I assure you, my dear, I shall never forget," he whispered. "You will," said the Queen, "if you don't make a memorandum of it." There was a book lying near Alice on the table, and she turned over the leaves to find some part she could read. "For it's all in some language I don't know," she said. It was like this. "Why, it's a looking-glass book, of course, and if I hold it up to the glass, the words will all go the right way again." This was the poem that Alice read. Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borrow groves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub-Jub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal's sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. "And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, callooh callay," he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. "It seems very pretty," said Alice, "but it's rather hard to understand." You see, she didn't like to confess even to herself she couldn't make it out at all. "But if I don't make haste, I shall have to go back through the looking-glass before I've seen what the rest of the house is like. Let's have a look at the garden first." In a moment she was running down the stairs, or at least it wasn't exactly running, but a new invention for getting downstairs quickly. She just kept the tips of her fingers on the handrail and floated down. And she would have gone straight through the hall and out at the door in the same way, if she hadn't caught hold of the doorpost. She was getting a little giddy with so much floating in the air, and was rather glad to find herself walking again in the natural way. Goodbye.